So Blizzard finally did it. They have the new expansion. It's been revealed. I know it was 2 days late, but I'm really excited. This is going to be my first reaction to all of these cards except for one, because I basically wanted to figure out what Colossal meant. So when I get there, I will explain what the new keyword is. The new keyword is Colossal. Spoiler alert, but let's jump into it. The first one is going to be spell coiler. It is a Naga. Naga is a new tribe, and I'm assuming it's going to be a new tribe in Battlegrounds very shortly. Its battle cry set is a 2-mana 2/3 battle cry. If you cast a spell while holding this, discover a spell. And I really like cards that do this. Cards that basically say if you have done something throughout the game while this is in your hand, you get an added effect. It's similar to Elemental Synergy in Shaman. It's why I loved Elemental decks for a while. I will admit they got a little bit too strong recently, but for the longest time I loved elemental cards because if you played something the turn before, it would get an extra effect. Now, you don't have to do it the turn before with this card, you just have to have played a spell, but I just like that kind of synergy that has a couple of separate steps. I just really like that kind of stuff. Next thing is a priest, and it's a mage card. Next thing is a priest card, Serpent Wig. It is a 1-mana spell, give a minion +1/+1. If you played a Naga while holding this, add a Serpent Wig to your hand. Which is really cool. Essentially, this is going to be kind of like a much worse version of Librams, but if you're playing a more aggressive or even board-based priest deck with Nagas, you can play a Naga, play Serpent Wig on it, and then it gives you another Serpent Wig, play another Naga, pump it up, and it basically just can give all of your things +1/+1, but it will cost 1 each time. I'm not exactly sure how good this will be. Hopefully there is some sort of miracle synergy with this where you're able to play a cheap spell over and over again. Obviously there will be, and I don't know, I think this card is a little bit, it's cool, but it's not the kind of playstyle that I personally like, but I know that a lot of people will probably have fun with it. Next thing is, oh, I didn't actually even look at Dredge. There are 2 new keywords, my bad. This one, Battlecry Dredge. What does Dredge mean? It is a very interesting new keyword. It lets you look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, pick one of them, and bring it to the top. In a sense, it works similarly to Discover, but it only adds, or also adds a compelling layer of deck manipulation. Interesting. Okay, so it's like Discover, but it has to be the bottom 3 cards of your deck, which is actually cool because it gives you information about what's at the bottom of your deck, and you could potentially play around that. Now, it doesn't draw you a card, it simply puts it to the top of the deck, so you know what you're going to draw next turn. So it's not as good as it might seem in some situations, but depending on the ability, it could be very good. Like the Murloc, Bloodscent Vilefin, Battlecry Dredge. If it's a Murloc, change its cost to health instead of mana, which is extremely interesting. This is a Warlock card. I think this is going to help zoo Warlock quite a bit with some Murlocs. And yeah, if you change it to health instead of mana, you could play that, life tap, draw another card, or play this and then life tap immediately to get that card out immediately for extra pressure. I think Dredge is a really interesting keyword. I don't know how strong it's going to be. It'll probably have effects like this. If you dredge, you will get something as a bonus effect based on the card you put on top of your deck. And I'm very excited to see where they go with Dredge, and I hope that this is a keyword that sees more as everything goes on. Because it doesn't seem broken, but it seems interesting with card information, and it's going to be fairly skill-based, I think. Tuskar Trawler, Battlecry, just Dredge. It's a 2-mana 2/3. Any 2-mana 2/3 that has an effect will be good. It's a pirate, so it could go in Pirate Warrior as a 2-drop, so you have more early game pressure. Pretty interesting looking card. And you can make sure you draw a pirate on the next turn or something like that if you're in Pirate Warrior. Next thing are a couple of mage spells. Battlecry, put a Sunken Sweeper on top of your deck. It is a mage, a 3-mana 3/4 on the bottom of your deck. Interesting, on the bottom of your deck. So they're going to be cards that put stuff on the bottom of your deck specifically so you can try to dredge them. So you can manipulate what's at the bottom of your deck, or you could just do it for card information. That's really cool. And then the Sunken Sweeper is a 3-mana 3/4 Battlecry, add 3 random mechs to your hand. And it's a mech. So mech, mage, a more tempo board-based mech mage could be something that comes out in the near future. And okay, so sunken cards will work very well with Dredge. They're basically going to probably be like a lot of the other things that have happened in Hearthstone, where, you know, everybody got these squawkers or the parrots or whatever back in the mini set for United and Stormwind, and a lot of classes got dragons. A lot of classes are probably going to get a sunken card to build around Dredge, which seems really, really cool and interesting to me. Next, we're getting to the keyword that I briefly saw. I don't exactly know where. Maybe I did it while I was scrolling through Twitter trying to find a link. But Colossal essentially means when you play this minion, it will come out with other tokens, other minions. So we have Zalag of the Abyss. I don't even know if I said that right. Colossal 4, which means it'll come out with 4 stalks, all of which are little token minions that can do something. At the end of your turn, increase the damage of the stalks by 1. So basically, this will get stronger and stronger and stronger every turn, and yeah, and it comes out with 4 of these. So at the end of your turn, it'll do 4 damage to or 1 damage to an enemy minion, but there are 4 of them, so it'll be 4 random damage. And then next turn, it'll do 2 based on how many are left, and so on and so forth. It's a pretty cool card. It's a very board-based card. You know how Blizzard on Twitter has been saying they want to make more board-based things. They don't want to win as much from hand anymore, which basically is what Colossal is to me. It's just like, hey, everybody, we're going back to a little bit of more of a board-based meta with cards that literally summon extra tokens when they're summoned, which I think is really, really cool. They don't fit in a single card. They have extra appendages, as they put in parentheses here, with synergies to the main body. And then the next thing is we're going to talk about Kolak first before we talk about this one, because it's another Colossal card. Colossal +1 means it summons 1 extra token. The art kind of goes together, which is cool. I wonder if the art goes together here. I mean, it kind of does. You can kind of see that when it goes on the other side, maybe it'll summon, or maybe it'll be a different stock art, and it will connect pretty well here. It could end up being super cool, but this one really looks like it connects together, and its synergy with the Colossal token card, the appendage, if you will, is immune while you control the shell. It is a 7-mana 6/5 that also gives you a 0/8 taunt that gains you a armor for Druid, and I really hope Druid goes and builds around this more. I hope it has like a choose one synergy deck that this is just me hoping. It's not really what's probably going to happen. A choose one synergy deck with a little bit of ramp because of Guff, but hopefully not too much because Overgrowth and Lightning Bloom are gone, that are able to get out these fairly big defensive minions that aren't like super broken. You know, like Cenarian Ward and all that you could use really, really aggressively and close out games if you double activated it, or Survival of the Fittest, all that jazz when you ramped up. But this seems like a more defensive card, but still big and something you have to deal with, which I think is cool. Next thing is Ambassador Phelan Battlecry. Put 3 Colossal minions on the bottom of your deck. I like this because it also helps you play around fatigue. I could already see it, a Control Warrior that runs like Kazakusan, as well as the Ambassador, to just try to stretch out your deck as much as possible. Not to mention the fact that if you run this with, say, like a Dredge card up here, you could potentially put one of those Colossal minions on the top of your deck and go absolutely crazy with it in the following turn. And since you shuffle 3, you know what 3 you have on the bottom of your deck, so you will always choose the best one for your current situation, which I think is super duper cool. Now going down the list, we have the Shimmering Sunfish Battlecry. If you're holding a holy spell, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. Again, I really like cards, sorry for hitting the desk, that interact with the hand in any way, whether it be the opponent's hand or your hand. So when you play a card that says it gains an extra effect if you're holding something, or if you've played something recently, or if you've played something while this is in your hand, I always like those effects. And I don't know exactly how strong this card is going to be, but I do really like effects that do that kind of thing, and it makes it feel like the things you do in Hearthstone matter. Deck builds matter more than just like, oh, I'm gonna ramp and get Kazakusan and then let Kazakusan win me the game like Druid has done in the past. It's like, okay, I'm building my deck around Holy Spell synergy, so I'm gonna have a lot of cool Holy Spell things. Or Elemental Shaman, same basic thing. I really like the Sunfish. Next is the Bootstrap Sunken Battlecry, or combo, sorry, not Battlecry, it's 5 mana 4/4 combo. Put an enemy minion on the bottom of the opponent's deck, which is interesting, because if you know the kind of synergies the opponent might have for Dredge, you could potentially mess them up by giving something that either A, doesn't fit, or B, just is a big minion you're putting on the bottom of their deck that they have to go and find and play again. And this is cool because it's basically like removal, because it's an enemy minion on the opponent's side of the board. So it's kind of like an assassination, but it's not quite, because you don't really full-on destroy it, but it does get rid of it. It's fairly cheap, decent stats, pretty easy to come with this out, I'm assuming, with the one-drop. Not exactly sure how powerful this will be, but if the meta is very board-based, having a slightly slower card like this will definitely see play if there's less combo and fast stuff in the meta. And then the next card, I think it's the last card revealed so far, is Blademaster Okani. Battlecry, secretly choose a counter, or choose to counter the next minion or spell your opponent plays while this is alive. So basically, you're either going to choose to counter a minion or a spell, and I like this. I like there being counters in the game. So basically, what this means to me is this is not necessarily in itself hand interaction. It kind of is, right? You're not necessarily destroying or eating a card like Mutanus would. What's happening is you're countering something. So if you're playing against a druid, let's just say in this current meta, it's 4 mana, so it can play around ramp. You play that turn 4. And let's just say your opponent hasn't played Overgrowth yet. You can counter an Overgrowth, or if they're at 8 mana because they like Lightning Bloomed out or something and have Guff or whatever, you play that for 4 mana because it's cheaper, counter the next minion. They play Kazakusan, it gets countered, and if they're only running 1 or so minions and fairly limited removal, they either have to A, play a spell to remove it first, so they'll play like the Scale of Onyxia, and then that'll be their turn, and then it basically delays Kazakusan a turn. Or they'll risk it, play Kazakusan, and lose their Kazakusan. Or you can go one layer deeper and predict their prediction and go with the other thing, right? You'll be like, okay, they're gonna think I'm gonna counter a minion and not play Kazakusan the next turn and play a spell. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna counter a spell, so that way, since they're gonna waste their turn either way, might as well have them waste their turn and waste their card. You know, I think that could be a pretty interesting thing you could do. A lot of mind tricks you could play with this card. I'm actually liking the stuff that I see here. Based on hand, 2 keywords, more board-based, already from what we've seen, hand interaction, and a little bit of deck manipulation with the sunken cards and the ambassador. A lot of ways to express skill, and I can see right now. I actually think this is going to be a super fun expansion based on what I've seen. I'll probably come out with a couple other videos about what I want to see and other things along those lines. But yeah, I'm very excited. This is going to be a really, really cool expansion from what I've seen. I'm probably going to, like I said, come out with videos, not necessarily on what I'd like to see card-wise, but what I'd like to see from Hearthstone in the near future. Very excited. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.